And you know that she can be very tough on people, but she can also be very thoughtful and kind in what she's doing, right?
Yes, sir.
And you've commented on it sometimes, and just she's been so good to people that you've seen right in front of her, right?
Yes, sir.
You're asking for mercy from her, aren't you?
Mercy.
And you can understand why a prosecutor or maybe some judges might not think that you're deserving of any mercy. Could you understand that?
I understand that.
Do you promise that you're going to change your ways and do a better job?
Promise I'm on. I want to go back to church's calendar. Churches.
Guys, if there's an issue with the ME, is anybody going to stipulate maybe to the ME's report? This is just me just throwing that out there. All right, court is calling 2023 CR 4941, State of Texas versus Anthony Tyrone Jack Woodard. Could I have parties announced for the record for the state?
James Phillips, State of Texas.
Defense.
James Phillips, PHILLIPS.
John Kuntz for Mr. Woodard.
And are you Mr. Woodard?
Yes, ma'am.
Counsel, have you received all the discovery? Did you review it with your client?
I have, Your Honor.
Court will find that the state is in compliance with discovery. Mr. Woodard, I'm showing you what's entitled Application for Community Supervision. Did you review that with your attorney? Did you understand it? Did you sign it?
Yes, ma'am.
Showing you what's entitled True Bill of Indictment. Did you review that with your attorney? Did you understand it? Counsel, do you waive the reading of the indictment?
We do, Your Honor.
State, are you proceeding on the indictment as presented?
No, Your Honor, at this time, the state moves to waive and abandon the habitual enhancement allegation, proceed solely on the remainder of the indictment.
We're very grateful. We have no objection.
All right. Mr. Woodard, I'm showing you what's entitled Court Admonishments and Defendants Waivers and Affidavit of Admonitions. Did you review that with your attorney?
Yes,
Did
ma'am.
you understand it?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you sign it at all the appropriate places?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you understand, the state is charging you with the offense of possession of a controlled substance, penalty group 1, 4 grams to 200 grams. That's a second-degree felony. Range of punishment is anywhere from 2 to 20 years in prison and up to a $10,000 fine.
Yes, ma'am.
If you have a plea with the state, the court does not have to follow your plea. If for any reason the court does not follow your plea and gives you more than you bargained for, the fact that you entered a plea will not be used against you and you will be allowed to withdraw your plea. Did you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you understand you have a right to jury trial, a right for you or your attorney to cross-examine and confront any witnesses the state would call in the right to remain silent?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you understand by entering this plea, you were giving up those rights? Did you intend to give up those rights and enter into a plea in this case?
Yes, ma'am, Your Honor.
Counsel, has your client been able to provide you with any defenses?
Very much so.
Do you believe he has a rational as well as a factual understanding of the charges against him?
Yes, Judge.
Do you believe he's currently competent and was legally sane at the time of the offense?
Yes, and yes.
Mr. Woodard, has anyone threatened you, coerced you, or placed you in fear to get you to enter this plea? Anyone promised you anything other than the plea? Are you satisfied with the way you've been represented?
Yes, ma'am, Your Honor.
Are you a U.S. citizen?
Yes, ma'am.
Court will find that defendant has knowingly and voluntarily waived his right to jury trial. Showing you the plea bargain page. Did you review that with your attorney? Did you understand it?
Yes, ma'am, Your Honor.
All right. According to this, you sort of have a plea and not have a plea. So where the plea agreement is that the state agrees to make no recommendation to your sentencing. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
But you're entering a plea open to the court. So what that means is I could give you probation or I could sentence you to prison anywhere from 2 to 20 years. Did you understand?
Yes, ma'am, Your
And
Honor.
do you understand that to be your hybrid agreement?
Yes, ma'am.
Defense,
Yes, Judge.
state,
Yes, Your Honor.
showing you the waiver of appeal paragraph. Did you review that with your attorney?
Yes, ma'am, Your Honor.
Did you understand it?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you sign it in both places?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you understand by signing that you're waiving your right to appeal? The only items that can be appealed are written pretrial motions that have been filed, heard, and ruled upon by the court. Did you understand?
Yes, ma'am, Your Honor.
Counsel, have there been any such motions?
No, Your Honor.
Oh, Your Honor, there was only one motion. It was a motion to sever the drug case, this case that he's pleading on from a felon in possession of a firearm, and the defense won that motion. I was ruled on by Miguel Nava. That's the only motion.
I appreciate it anytime the state says the defense won a motion. So yes, we did win that one.
Credit where credit's due.
All right. Then to the offenses charged, how do you plead? Guilty, not guilty, or no contest?
Guilty.
State, any evidence?
Yes, Your Honor, at this time, the state will offer State's Exhibit 1 and all attachments.
We reviewed it and have no objections, Your Honor.
Mr. Woodard, I'm showing you what's entitled waiver and consent to stipulation of testimony and stipulations. Did you review that document with your attorney? Did you understand it? Did you sign it in all the appropriate places?
Yes, ma'am.
Again, did you understand you have a right to jury trial, a right for you or your attorney to cross-examine and confront any witnesses the state will call and the right to remain silent? Did you understand that today the state will be presenting evidence in the form of witnesses' statements and police reports? But most importantly, there'll be no live testimony. Did you understand?
Yes, ma'am, Your Honor.
Court will find that defendant has knowingly and voluntarily waived and consented to stipulation of testimony and stipulations. Court will accept into evidence State's Exhibits 1 and attachments and review the same. All right, the court will find there's sufficient evidence to find you guilty and the court will find you guilty. Is there anything I need to know about this case other than what the charge is? Is there a need for a PSI or would I be able to make a decision based upon criminal history?
Well, as you know, Judge, they waived the repeater count or the habitual counts, I should
Yes.
say. So, and we've filed an application for community supervision. So if the court is inclined to grant his application, we would love to proceed today.
Mhm.
And Your Honor, I would just make you aware of his criminal history, that's all. That's the only mitigating.
All right, so this is my suggestion. And we can go off the record. And if nobody wants to follow my suggestion, you're more than welcome to do so. We can do a PSI. The reason why I'm saying this is because the PSI are probably like 6 to 8 weeks out. So we can reset this and counsel, if you want to get letters or something for your client, you can do that. And if you all at the day of sentencing are just able to give me the criminal history, that's what I'll be needing.
I prefer a PSI, Judge, just so you can get a full picture.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Again, if you want to just give them probation today, we'll take it.
All right. Well, the state is not waiving the PSI.
Well, they're bullies. They're mean. So
All right, we can go back on the record. Norma, PSI, what date?
I can do April 11th.
All right, we'll come back on April 11th and I'll ask for a TAP evaluation as well. Make sure you make all of those appointments. Do not miss any of those appointments. You understand?
Yes, ma'am, Your Honor.
All right, once you sign the reset form, you will be excused and then you wanted to tender the dismissals on the other cases?
Yes, Your Honor. Tendering these dismissals today.
Okay.
He's not taking any responsibility for them. We're just outright dismissing them.
Okay. All right, if there's nothing else,
Nothing further from the state.
once you get the reset form, just make sure you speak with probation and they will let you know what you need to do.
I'll just have one witness, his girlfriend, just for a few seconds.
All right. Court is calling 2023 CR 4941, State of Texas versus Anthony Tyrone Jack Woodard. Can I have parties announced for the record for the state,
Myers, Your Honor.
for the defense?
Confidence for Mr. Woodard.
And are you Mr. Woodard?
Yes, ma'am, Your Honor.
All right, we're here for sentencing. You entered a plea of guilty on February 12th. According to your plea bargain agreement, the state is silent on your application. And of course, they say that if you did not appear, you would be subject to the full range of punishment. So you're here, so that's a good thing. And also, you're going open to the court in the sense with regards to punishment.
That's right, Judge.
All right. Have both parties had a chance to review the PSI report and the TAP evaluation?
State has, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
Any objections?
No objection.
All right. The state is silent. You say you have a witness?
I do, Judge. I'd call his girlfriend Tamisha first.
All right.
Mr.
Wife,
Woodard,
I'm sorry.
stand on the side.
Mr. Kuntz, don't downgrade people's position and people's lives.
I always like to lift people up.
Good morning. Could you raise your right hand for me, please? Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
All right, you can lower your hand. Just make sure you keep your voice up so the court reporter can hear. All right, and on this side, if you are going to talk, ask the deputy to just move you down to the other end. If you'll state your name for the record.
Tanisha Jackson,
All right,
Tamisha, who are you to Anthony?
his girlfriend.
And what do you do for a living?
I work at Waste Connections for the city,
How long have you,
Waste Connections,
for the city of San Antonio?
yes,
Okay.
And how long have you been there?
4.5 years,
What sort of hours do you work?
from 7 to 7:30,
So you,
7 AM to 7 PM,
so 12-hour shifts?
yes,
How many days a week?
Monday through Friday,
Do you have children?
1,
How old is your child?
13,
And does she stay with you?
yes,
Does Anthony have children?
yes,
How many children does Anthony have?
3.
And what are their ages?
One just turned 6 on Monday, one will be 5 next month, and one just turned 5 in March.
What kind of father is Anthony to those children?
A active father. He's proactive with any activities going on with school, outside of school. There is a routine, from Thursday to Sunday with the parents, of the other children, that he get them every other weekend. But with my daughter specifically, he's full active. Be honest with you, I'm not on none of her paperwork. He does all the activities, parent conference, because I can't honestly do it because I'm at work majority of the time. So that's pretty much it.
So he's a good dad
Yes,
and he helps you out a lot.
yes,
Now, we obviously are asking the judge for a huge favor today, which is to give him a chance on probation, right?
correct,
And you know Anthony's history, don't you?
Yes.
He's been to prison before
Correct.
and he's struggled with some things, hasn't he?
correct.
What, do you think Anthony can make it on probation?
I do. As far as with, the classes, believe he was on probation before and he finished all the classes. I think he was reporting like every week or once a month, to be honest with you. I'm not for sure how his rotation was, but I know he was pretty active with, reporting.
Are you aware of Anthony's childhood and background
Yes,
and the trauma that he suffered as a child?
yes,
Both of his parents were addicts.
yes,
His mother was a prostitute.
yes, and passed away while he was incarcerated. Yes,
And he was raised by a grandma.
yes,
But even to this day, would it be fair to say that Anthony suffers from depression and maybe some other issues?
correct. In childhood, yes.
And do you think he needs psychological counseling? Do you think he needs drug rehab or classes or something like that?
Yes, like childhood trauma, yes.
All right.
Mhm.
And I know you're not, thankfully, you're not versed in the drug world,
Yes, I'm
right?
not, because I'm not the right terminology.
So, but you do feel like Anthony struggles maybe with substances at times.
Correct, yes,
And do you think that him getting counseling or treatment would be a good thing?
yes.
But realistically, it probably stems from the depression and the childhood trauma.
Yes,
Okay, so he probably needs counseling to start with that and move forward, right?
correct, yes,
If he's able to get probation, do you think he'll follow the rules?
yes,
Is he a rule follower?
yes. I have rules, so he has to follow my rules.
And is there anything else you'd like to tell the judge? Obviously, you're with Anthony, he's helping you raise your own child
Correct.
and you care for him a lot, don't you? Okay,
Yes,
and you want her to give him a chance?
yes.
Okay. I have no further questions. The prosecutor may ask you a couple of questions, but that's okay.
All right, any questions?
Briefly, Your Honor. You were aware that Anthony was on parole at the time of his arrest, correct?
Oh, which,
I'm sorry,
which case?
on the case we're here for today.
No, I don't think he was on, I don't believe so. I don't believe so. Was he?
Okay. And you were aware that there's 4.1 grams of cocaine found in the house?
I actually was at work, so I didn't get the call until in the process of it happening.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were you aware that there were several firearms found in the house?
There was not several. One weapon was actually a BB gun that was actually mine. And the other weapon, I don't believe anything about another weapon. And when I talked to the officer, he actually gave me a written of
Yeah,
everything.
Dan, I'm gonna stop you there.
Okay.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Okay.
All right, any other
No,
questions?
Judge, thank you.
Thank you so much for coming down.
The judge will call my client as a witness.
All right, can you raise your right hand for me, please? Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth? So help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you can lower your hand, state your name for the record.
Anthony Woodard.
All right, defense.
Thank you, Judge. Anthony, you heard Tamisha talk and you heard what I was saying. I want to talk to the judge a little bit about your background and your childhood. And I know you struggle to talk about this. You don't like talking about this, do you? And in fact, I didn't learn some of the stuff about you until very recently. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
You kind of hold it in, don't you?
Yes, sir.
But unfortunately, both of your parents were drug addicts. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And you were raised by a grandma because they couldn't take care of you.
Yes, sir.
Were they living on the streets?
Yes, sir.
And you heard me mention also that unfortunately your mom was a prostitute. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And was she in the same neighborhood you were at?
Yes, sir.
Was- So you've seen her do what?
Oh, I understand.
Okay. So you unfortunately as a child were exposed to her business, right?
Yes.
And look, we have to, the judge knows, and you're very honest about things. You started getting in trouble when you were in high school, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
And probably some anger issues and sadness and depression things, right?
Yes, sir. That was one.
Now, you've unfortunately found yourself in prison a couple of times and things like that, and you're back in the court system. Are you happy to be back in the court system?
Yes, sir. I have you.
Is this something that you like doing, every few years coming to court?
Yes, sir.
And now that you have your children, is this really hard on you?
Yes, sir. It takes a real toll on me.
Is this something that you ever want to do again?
Yes, sir.
Do you ever want to be back in front of a judge?
Yes, sir.
And how many times have you come to court and watched Judge Boyd? A bunch?
A bunch of times.
And you know that she can be very tough on people, but she can also be very thoughtful and kind in what she's doing, right?
Yes, sir.
And you've commented on it sometimes and just she's been so good to people that you've seen right in front of her, right?
Yes, sir.
You're asking for mercy from her, aren't you?
Mercy.
And you can understand why a prosecutor or maybe some judges might not think that you're deserving of any mercy. Did you understand that?
Understand that.
Do you promise that you're gonna change your ways and do a better job?
Promise I'm gonna do a better job.
If you took a drug test today, would you be clean or dirty?
I'll be dirty.
For what?
I-
But clean for marijuana,
Oh, yes, sir.
clean for cocaine,
Yes, sir.
but do you feel like you could use some counseling?
Oh, yes, sir.
And do you think that counseling for your depression? Yes,
Yes, sir.
counseling for alcohol or drug use?
Yes, sir.
Are you willing to do that counseling?
I'm willing to do it,
Whatever it takes.
whatever it takes.
You just don't want to go back to prison, do you?
No, sir.
You've been to prison
Yes, sir.
and you don't like it, do you?
No, sir.
And I want to address one thing. Anthony, when you've been in prison, have you been categorized as a gang member?
No, sir.
So when probation says that they have you as a blood and all this sort of stuff, you actually wear blue to court a lot of times, don't you?
In black. Yes, sir.
And so you're not affiliated with any gang right now, are you?
No, sir.
And you haven't been?
Labeled in prison or none of that. That's why I don't know where it come from.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to tell the judge?
Yes, sir. I would ask, if you can give me a second chance to prove to you that I can be successful on probation for my family and myself, and give me any help, and I'm willing to take it and show the board that I can be successful.
Any questions?
Mr. Woodard, the time you were arrested, you were on parole for a drug case, correct?
Yes, sir.
And parole's kind of like probation, wouldn't you agree?
Yes, sir.
You got rules you have to follow. If you don't, you may or may not go to prison.
Yes, sir.
And you were high the day you were arrested, correct?
Was I high?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you admitted to smoking marijuana. Is that a violation of your parole?
I had completed parole.
Well, would you be surprised that it says that you weren't going to be discharged until May 27th, 2023, and that you were arrested on March
Oh, yeah,
28th,
yeah.
2023?
Yes, sir. I had one. You're right. Yes, sir.
Okay,
Correct. Correct.
Smoking marijuana would have been a violation, correct?
Correct.
And being around any sort of narcotics would have been a violation, correct?
Correct.
And being around guns would have been a violation of your parole, correct?
Correct, sir.
And you've been on bond for this case, correct?
Yes, sir.
And would you say that bond's kind of like a version of probation as well? You have certain rules you have to follow?
Yes, sir.
And drinking alcohol, that's a violation of your bond, wouldn't you agree? You're allowed to drink alcohol while you're on bond? For a drug case?
I don't think that's a violation of my, sir.
Okay. How many AA meetings have you been to in the last month?
I haven't been to one since about 6 days.
You have several children, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you've been, at the time that this report was written, you've been unemployed for 11 months, correct?
Yes, sir.
Where are you working now?
I struggle with getting a job right now due to the situation. So I just help out at the nonprofit Safe House for the community.
Okay. Did you bring any sort of documentation from that?
I actually do have something I was going to present to the court.
Pass the witness, Your Honor.
Anthony, let's talk about that real fast. It's Big Mama Safe House.
Yes, sir.
And what is that?
It's a non-profit community, stop the violence with drugs and put the weapons down and talk. It's like a non-profit.
And so you, as someone who's been through that fire, basically,
Yes, sir.
are you helping the younger people try to learn from your mistakes?
Well, yeah, we go to communities and talk to like in the neighborhoods on the east side, west side, talk to the children about the violence and the drugs to like go a different route about it. Which is the change that I'm making for myself that I want to see. I don't want to see people go down the same path I went down. I'm in a prison
Okay,
twice.
all right, so let me stop everybody. If we can go off the record briefly. Let me just tell you what my concern is. My concern is, I'm looking at his criminal history. My other concern that is pushing me a certain way is this allegation that you say is an allegation that he's a gang member. So we can have him sit in the box and you all can discuss about that gang tag that's on the report. Then y'all can come back and approach me with information on that. And then I'll have a ruling on that.
I actually, just to let you know, I spoke to the prosecutor before we came up here and he doesn't know necessarily why he has tagged as a blood right now.
Okay, so let's do this. Let's have him sit in the box. I think you guys have investigators upstairs who can go on the computer and call, and let's see if that's a mistake that's been made by probation or if it's something else. All right?
Okay.
Let me know when you need a break, okay? Okay. We're back on the record in 2023 CR 4941, State of Texas versus Anthony Woodard. Could I have parties announce again, please, for state
Evan Myers, Your Honor.
defense?
John Coons to Mr. Woodard.
And you're Mr. Woodard?
Yes, ma'am. Your Honor.
All right, so the court wanted to know about the gang affiliation.
Me and Mr. Koontz spoke with Sergeant Rodriguez from our office. The defendant does show to be listed in Tex Gang, Your Honor. That was based on tattoos identified at the Bexar County Jail and a denial in 2019, or an admission to being an ex-blood gang member in 2019, Your Honor.
So when he was arrested in 2019 and something, they asked him if he'd been a gang member. He said, I used to be a blood, basically. There's no current membership information as reported to the court earlier. When he's been in TDC, he has not been categorized as a gang member. He has not been segregated in any way as a result of that. And again, sort of as a very telling thing, oftentimes when Anthony comes to court, he's wearing blue. And if he was a blood, he would not be wearing blue in the courthouse. There's no way.
Okay. All right, this is what the court is going to do. Court is going to find you guilty. The court will sentence you to 2 years in the prison, give you credit for any time served, and I'll request the therapeutic community.
Okay, thank you, Judge.
All right, did you review the document entitled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Rights to Appeal with your attorney? Did you understand it and did you sign it?
Yes, you signed it, the waiver of appeal.
I think so, yes, ma'am.
All right, because this is a plea bargain agreement, because I followed your plea bargain agreement, and because you waive your right to appeal, you do not have the court's permission to appeal. Because this is a felony conviction, you're not allowed to own or possess any weapons or ammunition. If you have a question of what a weapon or ammunition is, you'll need to speak to an attorney. Do you understand?
Yes.
All right, we can go off the record. Here's the thing, as I was telling everybody before, I don't have a crystal ball, but based upon what I'm looking at in the report and the evidence that I've received, I just don't think that you would be a good candidate. So I know anytime people go to prison, that's a lot of time. I know sometimes people want people to do more time than what I'm sending them to, or less time than what I'm sending them to. But I'll review the case, weigh the case on what I see, and decide on what a sentence should be. When you're released from prison, you're just going to have to go on the straight and narrow, because at some point you're going to be a habitual offender and your minimum will be 25 years in the prison. You understand?
Yes, ma'am, Your Honor.
All right, good luck to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.